Chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Jean Mensa, has officially declared the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, the winner of the presidential election conducted across the country on Sunday. The declaration came a day after Mahama's closest contender in the election and candidate of the ruling National Patriotic Party, Mahmoud Bawumia, conceded defeat and congratulating the former president. According to the Electoral Commission, Mahama scored 56.55% of the total vote cast in the election to emerge victorious. Mahama then addressed his jubilant supporters and the country in an acceptance speech where he confirmed that President Nana Akufo-Addo has also called to congratulate him on his victory. Winston, Tackie, business journalist and analyst, joins me now from Ghana's capital city, Accra, to discuss the economic implications of Mahama's victory. Good morning to you, Winston. Many thanks for joining us on the Global Business Report this morning.
Thank you for having me, Abby.
You're most welcome. All right, let's begin with the overarching mood in Ghana's Ghana as a country following John Mahama's victory and how the election process itself basically proceeded. How was it conducted? Could you speak to any of these?
It's been a different, let's say, jubilative atmosphere here in Ghana after this election. When I had the opportunity to speak to some of the electorates, they say it feels like a second independence for Ghana. And according to them, they have had to endure some serious economic challenges under this previous government before the election came into life. It was more of an economic-related election where we saw inflation rising to as high as 54% after December 2023, which was quite interesting, going with the first of its kind in the history of Ghana. We also saw inflation policy rate also rising. We also saw interest rate, which is a key determinant of the price of access to loans by the commercial banks to have access to international transactions and access to interest. So there were a lot of developing issues within this election, which was a key decider going subsequently into this election. But if you look at the issues, the contenders in this election, John Dramani Mahama and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, both of them had a track record of what they have done previously based on the assessment. But Dr. Mahama initially lost his election based on key challenges such as power crisis and also rising prices of commodities. So this also is what we felt during the previous month, or let's say the last 8 years of the NDC government led by Nana Akufo-Addo, who subsequently was handed over to Bawumia, who went into this election. And this was quite a debate of economic challenges. And I'm sure out there in Nigeria, there was some issues that also came to light.
Right, but we're looking at this overall mood still. How are Ghanaians responding to Mahama's return to power after his previous years in office?
It's been quite receptive per my assessment, because if you look at his track record previously, he's done enormously when it comes to economic targets. He also took Ghana to the IMF, and this time around, the key challenge that many are giving him as a tax has to do with corruption, dealing with corruption. Corruption has been prevalent in this administration, considering the issues of nepotism that has been accused by the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, where family and friends government, he's been accused of running a family and friends government. There's been a lot of cases of state resources being captured. Lands, the issue of Galamsey, where a lot of political bigwigs are also into Galamsey, digging the natural resources of the country at restricted forest reserves, which became quite prevalent with a lot of demonstration. Many were demanding of the president to react or take action decisively. However, it did not amount to much after several protests on the street by the youth of the country, who subsequently became the key deciders in this election. If you look at the numbers, hugely, about 30% of the youth played a key role in this election. Another issue that came to light has to do with the betting tax, which government placed about 10% tax on betting. There were taxes and levies on a lot of commodities in the country, which subsequently increased the prices of commodities on the market. However, this was also a key decider going to the election, and it affected individuals subsequently. But the promises of Mahama was he will remove tax burden on individuals and also on businesses. And many are anticipating that in the first 120 days, he will bring these changes into light.
Right, quite a myriad of issues there and moving parts. But let's look at it a little more granularly and let's look at Mahama's plans to stabilize the economy, which you've alluded to. What is the general reception towards this roadmap in this regard by Ghanaians, and what are perhaps some other immediate economic challenges citizens expect of him?
Currently, one of the key things on the table is how difficult or how easy his plans may be in rectifying the challenges with the Ghana cedi. The cedi has depreciated by about 25% in the last 6 months against the US dollar and major global currencies. However, in the last 3 weeks, we've seen it coming down due to central bank injecting forex into the market to ensure price stability. However, it is more artificially driven by my speculation and assessment. Many are also saying expecting a review in tariff, which are key determinants of cost of production in the country. We've seen electricity, water supply as key challenge. Another thing is also on his table, many are asking him to deal with, has to do with the agricultural sector. The country's food security has been prevalent and it's been a threat. This year, 3 months ago, we experienced prevalent drought in the north. However, before then, the government promised one district, one dam, where dams were supposed to be at key strategic farming areas in the country. However, those projects did not see the light of day. And also the infrastructure across the country are not well distributed to ensure an enormous harvest in the lean season. And this has been on full over 3 years because of the inability of the agri sector to meet the domestic demand as amidst importing from neighboring countries like Burkina Faso and also Cote d'Ivoire and other related activities. Another issues that many are hoping he'll deal with is corruption, which is something that no government will let slide. And it's been on his table because he himself was accused of an Airbus-related scandal, which he was recused by the Attorney General subsequently after several years of investigation. So he will not let it slide, and it's a mandate many have asked him to ensure he implement. He has promised to cut down his ministerial appointment to 60 ministers compared to the 112 ministers that was handled by his previous predecessor.
Corruption is quite rife, but let's just spend a little more time on inflation and currency stabilization, which you touched on here. When we look at Ghanaians, public expectations in this regard, what does this look like? Do you believe that there's some sort of realistic optimism around this? Can this be tackled by this new dispensation?
Although it is a realistic challenge, many are of the view that it will take some time, considering the challenges that are currently prevalent in the current organization. Many have asked that policies instituted by the central bank governor has not really helped the market. We've seen banks collapse instead of helping those banks return back to stability. We've seen policies of the central bank instituting the good for oil policy where there's lack of transparency. We've seen more institutional policies from the central bank, which has not helped strengthen the financial sector. So one of the key policies that he intends to bring into light is to ensure that the domestic economy is brought back to life, where local production is boosted, where entrepreneurs are given the needed environment for them to thrive. Because if you look at the tax component on every production, it will tell you how difficult it is to produce in Ghana as of now. We've lost several businesses in the last 4 years, moving to Cote d'Ivoire and neighboring countries because of the high cost of production. And this is not just something that domestic businesses complain. Also, international, multinational corporations have relocated their headquarters outside of Ghana. But due to this revamp in confidence, it appears it's being received by the market. So with this announcement, we've seen the marginal stability of the cedi as of today, as well as a boost in cocoa anticipated production by some of the cocoa farmers, showing their support to the new president, saying that they will work seriously to ensure his government also puts out the best outlook subsequently going forward.
Right, sounds a bit of a positive side there. Now, the topic of debt, Winston, is a key sore point in many African economies. What is the perception around Mahama's strategy to reduce Ghana's reliance on IMF assistance? As we know, this has been an area of concern for quite a few years now.
During his time in government, he was also had to subscribe to the IMF due to the huge deficit we had in our budget. According to him, he will have to review certain conditions with the IMF, which will be quite difficult considering the complicated nature of our debt. We have debt with external creditors, debt with international bondholders. We have debt with domestic debt bondholders as well. So it appeared Ghana has the most complex debt structure in the country. In the face of increasing forex instability, we tend to see our debt increasing consistently due to the depreciation of the currency against major global currencies, due to the fact that we have debt in dollars, and if our cedi depreciates, it tends to increase our debt outlook subsequently. As of now, our debt is hovering around over 700 million Ghana cedis, and it's a huge debt. As of next first month of 2025, Ghana is projected to pay debt as of $1 billion, and which is something that is waiting for the government, any government that comes into being. And also, there are energy sector debts that are also awaiting the government. Government owes a lot of independent power producers due to the supply of energy that have not really been sorted out. So these are more of the challenges awaiting the government. And he says that he's ready to restructure and discuss assiduously with those debt holders to bring this issue to resolve.
Oh, absolutely. Some really great insights there. I want to thank you so much, Winston, for joining us today on the Global Business Report. We'll see you again very soon.